A DC homeowner claiming an Airbnb guest has overstayed their welcome and will not leave. In this story you'll only see on 7 News, we're digging into DC law, finding out there's not much that homeowner can do. Our Washington, D.C. reporter Felicia Ashley spoke with the homeowner and tried.
Gotta love DC and the DC laws. Like, not to get political, but I stay away from DC as a real estate investor. I just stay away because you hear the nightmare stories. I've talked, I've been in asset management meetings with like Fannie Mae and people that work for the government agencies, and they tell how they've had grown men crying in in Zoom meetings because there's nothing they can do. They're losing their apartment because people can't pay and they can't be evicted and they can't generate enough revenue income from rents to pay their mortgages, and it drains them dry. And so it's tough. That's why I focus down south, where, hey, you get a 7-day notice, you hadn't paid your rent. We need to have a conversation. 30 days, we're gonna have to move forward. If we hadn't put a plan together, you hadn't communicated. And it's just that simple. Unfortunately, that you have to work like it's a business side of it. Like everybody thinks that landlords, that we're just slumlords, but guess what? Taxes are going up, insurance is going up, expenses for maintenance, everything is going up with inflation, and interest rates are higher for the financing. And so there's a balance in that. Like, I love being a landlord where you can work with people. I've let individuals that were a tenant resident in one of my properties, came down with cancer, or kid, their teenage pregnancy with a daughter or whatever. And I've actually wiped 7-8 months of rent back, gave them a clean slate. Hey, let's sign a new lease. We're gonna put behind you. I know you had a rough spell. Let's go and do it. But if you're not in control, you can't do good things. You can't be a blessing to people. But at the same time, a lot of times people take advantage of landlords and try to game the system. I've had theft at properties, and I shared in other videos where my apartment complex, where I had a situation where they stole copper, they stole the electrical, and to the tune of over 200,000 because the vacancy or occupancy was low, and the insurance didn't cover the damage that was caused by the theft, and I had to eat it out of pocket. And the thing is, thank God after we got moving, we had one person trying to break in, and the lady that was living next door, in one of the other units, called the police on them and got arrested and everything. So the thing is, there's some good people and there are a lot of bad people, and you want to be in an area as a real estate investor that they're going to side with the landlord, where you can have control. Even in Maryland, where you have to give your residents the option to buy your house before you can sell it. You got to give them a certain amount of time to buy it if they want to buy it first. And it's just weird, man. It's just weird. So let's see what's going on in DC. What's happening?
The alleged squatter originally got into the home through Airbnb, claiming that her apartment caught fire and it needed time to get repairs. Now that was back in February. Roshane Douglas says she didn't know she was opening her life up to a nightmare when she accepted Shadija Romero's Airbnb reservation almost 10 months ago. That reservation ended March 29th after 32 days, and Romero hasn't paid another dime. But living in the home for over a month apparently lets her claim some form of tenant rights, and she refuses to let Roshane enter the property.
I never gave her any tenancy. I never gave her a lease.
Roshane tried everything, gave her a 30-day notice to vacate, called police, went to court, and even offered Romero $2,500 to sign a paper admitting she's not a tenant and to get out. Romero signed the document, but didn't budge.
November the 15th came and she told me, this no longer works for me. Do what you have to do. I'm not leaving. I went to the police with my order, and they said there's nothing that they can do, that I need to go to court, which I've done, and I do not have a court date until December the 11th.
Roshane put this sign up on her home so police and the neighbors would know Romero was not authorized to be there. A sign Romero covered with a sheet.
I need police assistance.
I was there when police helped Roshane cut it down, while Romero hid inside.
It's shocking to me that you would abuse a system like that.
While all this is going on, Romero's social media shows her living her best life on trips and promoting her nonprofit. And Roshane is left paying thousands in attorney fees.
Wow, the audacity. Drop in the comments. If she's on the trips and stuff, she getting up out of there. And that's the crazy part. If she had went in and threw her stuff out, change the locks and everything, the homeowner would be a crime. And so they would come and look to lock up the homeowner if while she's on those trips and she came back and took possession of her property. It's crazy. And that's why I told y'all I stay away from DC. That's why she's doing that. I don't know. What would you guys do? I don't know. And then you just free, you coming in and out, you ain't paying my rent, you ain't paying rent and everything. And I'm sitting here having to front the mortgage for 10 months straight. Yeah, I don't know.
Can't even enter. I tried to get some answers from Romero, who was clearly inside the home, but she never came to the door. When a person walked out to her car, they didn't want to talk to us either. Roshane is waiting now for her court date next week, where she's hoping the judge's decision will allow U.S. Marshals to force her unwanted guests out once and for all. For now, reporting from Northeast D.C., Felicia Ashley,
Why
7
the U.S.
News.
Marshals got to get involved?
7 News has been reporting on reforms to rental housing laws in the district. Back in September, City Council passed the Rental Act. Supporters of the legislation say D.C. landlords lost more than $1 billion in unpaid rent since eviction moratoriums were lifted in 2021.
What?
Civil
Whoa. See, I told y'all. Hold on. DC, we're talking about one city. DC landlords have lost over $1 billion in rental income. We're talking 3 years. I told you. The one grown man crying, but clearly there was a lot of people crying. I can only imagine $1 billion in rent loss. This is, how did it take this long? This is a shame.
tenants who violate their leases by not paying rent. Those against the act say it takes away protections for tenants. Our investigative reporter
You can't
John
be
Barr has
protected if you don't pay. And the crazy part with all this that the actual squatter, so they forced her, I think, her out earlier this week, and she wanted to come and share her truth. And so we're gonna bring that video up and let her share her truth with ABC7. They on top of it.
Entrepreneur, and I also have a nonprofit. So that's what that was for. The fire that I actually had a fire. There's a police report, a fire report for it. The police came out, the fire department came out, determined that it was an electrical issue in the wall that then created.
Was it at the same apartment building?
For
Ava Noma, that apartment? Because that says 2023. It was you were there 2023, 2024.
So Ava Noma is where I had the fire, yes.
Ava Noma is the one showing that you were in the process of being evicted for paying 1 month's rent when you were there for 13.
So no, that would not be.
Hold on. This lady, she was there for 13 months and paid 1 month rent. And now this is at a whole nother apartment at 23. She's a scammer. Clearly, she's a scammer. Shout out to ABC7 in DC. So they did their research. That's good. And she's being exposed. That's a shame. And then she's gonna go Airbnb for a month and pay, and then stay there for 10 months. And because she knows the system, she knows the laws. And that's why, as a landlord, you have to do your research and look for evictions in the court in the county. But that's the thing. Like if you're a large metro area, they may move around counties where you can't find it. But luckily, where we invest, that it's got one county court. You can go in, you can find these evictions because people leave. Hence the crumbs that come behind that they're not going to just ultimately, people can reform and get better, but if they have an eviction, like, hey, you're going to need to go talk to another landlord. I'm not about to be the one that's going to let you be your redemption story. I'm sorry, like that, because you have people like this that take advantage of the system.
For Ava Noma, I did have a fire at that unit. Yes.
Okay. Just so you know, court records do show that they were evicting you. It has documents you also filed in that process. It also shows you trying to apply for EREP to stay there.
And I applied for it now through here, not for Ava Noma, because my payments were made for Ava Noma.
Okay. Just so you know, the court records do show something different. Might hear you on that. You mentioned that you're saying from the start of your Airbnb reservation to now, you've made every single payment.
Correct. And I can show you the receipts for those.
Okay. So you're saying Roshane Douglas, the homeowner, is essentially lying and saying that you have not made
Any
those
payment.
payments.
Correct.
Bruh.
Okay.
She sent me links, direct PayPal links for payment. And there's no way I could pay it without having the PayPal links or having her Zelle information in order to send her those.
How you gonna sit down for this interview and don't bring your receipts?
In some of the
Okay.
text messages between you and her, you did acknowledge that you hadn't paid.
Which month?
Oh
Was
my
it a
God.
May?
Multiple
You just said you paid every month.
August to now.
No. So it may have been okay, I didn't pay it yet, but it was then paid.
Oh,
But I have a payment for my August. I have receipts for my August payment, July, June, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. I have payments, receipts that show that.
Did you book the Airbnb with the intention of staying?
No,
of course not.
I did not book the Airbnb with the intent of staying.
So why are you still here?
Because after the repairs were done, the place still smelled like fire and there was water damage. So the water damage was more substantial than the fire damage. And once they started doing the repairs and even completed the repairs, when we went back into the unit, the lease was actually up in April of that year. Once they completed the repairs in about May, everything still smelled like water and fire. And at that point, now the lease was up.
Okay.
The lease was for an addition 20. I'm not sure, but it was for an extended period, so it was more than a year.
Okay.
And so the lease was officially up in April.
The lease was up in April.
And so then the process, I had started a process with LEDC to purchase a home.
To purchase a home. Okay. And you're saying you're still here because the home purchase didn't complete, or?
Correct. So I started the home buying process with LEDC. They have a program where
Wow, she's using the DC
ACAP,
program,
ACAP
multiple
will assist
evictions,
you
and they're
with
gonna give
your
her
down
money to
payment
go.
costs. This year, they switched the program to a lottery program for that assistance. So with the program, they will play your down payment and your closing costs. Before, the program was just you applied and you
That's the
got in.
program that
This
I
year, it turned to
hotel
a
that
lottery.
property too. They
That
use.
program didn't actually open up until November. So the program didn't open up for you to even be considered for the lottery until November.
First come, first serve.
Where are you in that
each
process?
fiscal year.
Or let me ask you this. You mentioned you didn't, in the middle of your Airbnb process, you didn't go back to your apartment because it still smelled like smoke
And water damage.
and water damage. What makes you choose to stay here instead when the homeowner has made it clear she doesn't want you here, doesn't want to be a landlord? There's now no utilities on. There's wood boarded up. There's a sign outside saying she doesn't want you here.
No utilities on.
So no, that didn't start until literally this month.
What
So
didn't start?
the sign on the building or the utility, that wasn't something that happened prior to this point, prior to this month. So if that had happened months ago and that was something that I've been dealing with for months, I would leave. So now with all of this going on, I am going to leave. The process was never to stay here for forever. The plan was to go back, and then if not, then purchase a home, which is why I started the home buying process.
I've heard enough. I don't want. I'm getting sick on this stuff. Yeah. Stay away from DC till they change their laws. That's my plan. You figure out what your plan is. But this goes back to your strategy and everything that you're doing. That you have to understand the laws of the land that you're operating in, and that you want to be a landlord in, and just understand what could happen, that people could squat and have rights. I know Georgia just passed some laws to change that. I remember as an active duty military member came back from a deployment. Squatter was in their house, and I think they went to jail because they tried to. I think they changed the locks on the house because the squatter was in there. They changed the locks. They got put in jail. Make it make sense. But these scammers, they know the laws. And then like Fulton County is another one down in Atlanta. That there was a multifamily investor that was sharing that out of 10 applicants to lease a unit, their apartment, they expect 4 or 5 to be fraudulent. 40-50% of applications to be fraudulent. It's crazy. It's crazy. But like people are trying to get over, and I think it's only going to get worse as you see the more layoffs and things like that that's happening. So you have to do your background checks. your credit checks and your checks for evictions before you let people come into your units, because yeah, you can end up in some of these situations. Make sure you like, subscribe to the channel. This was another good one. Unfortunately, I'm glad she was evicted and the homeowner can start repairing her life and getting everything back together with this project and get back to executing the business plan. Let's go. Let's make some equity happen.